the politics of terrorism after the attacks in Brussels. Donald Trump says waterboard. Ted Cruz wants more police patrols of Muslim communities. Hillary Clinton says they're both inciting bigotry. So who's right? We're going to talk about that and more when we come back. In the wake of this week's terrorist attacks in Brussels, Muslims in various Western countries are becoming increasingly targets of criticism and anger. Here in the United States, some of the presidential candidates are aggravating the situation by calling for more surveillance of Muslim communities in the United States. Let's discuss this with my next guest. Harris Zafar is the national spokesman for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community. That's among the oldest, largest American Muslim organizations. Harris, thanks very much for joining us. I want to discuss all of this, but give me your quick reaction to the terror attacks in Brussels.
Well, everyone has heard of the Muslim condemnation of the Belgium attacks, including the Khalifa of Islam, the worldwide spiritual leader of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community, who not only extended his prayers and condolences to the people of Belgium, but even condemned the attack and rejected any attempt to justify that's in Islamic grounds. So anyone who claims that wholly treating American Muslims as suspects is a good idea clearly has no genuine interest nor any idea how to win this war on terror, because you can't win by marginalizing the strongest allies and assets you have in this war, which is Muslims. So if our goal is to make and keep America safe, you only do that by uniting people, which is why this perfect case study exists right now with this platform called True Islam and the Extremists. It's the platform uniting Muslims and non-Muslims to undermine the terror groups like ISIS. So I think that's why thousands of people are now beginning to turn to trueislam.com to support this effort, because a joint effort's necessary. So instead of dividing people and trying to exploit the death of innocent people to gain political points, I think it's time for us to talk about concrete steps to bring ISIS to its knees.
As you know, Republican presidential candidates Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, they've proposed intensifying the monitoring of Muslim communities, mosques around the United States. When you hear that, special patrols in Muslim communities, what goes through your mind? What's your reaction?
Well, it shows that we don't want to learn from the heinous mistakes we've made in the past. So what we've done to the Japanese in this country, the African Americans, the Jews, the Catholics, the Mormons, and now we want to castigate an entire group like Muslims because of the acts of the insane people in different parts of the world. And so it's really scapegoating, and it shows they don't have a desire to really bring about an end to ISIS. There's really three things in my mind that you need to do and you bring an end to ISIS. First, we have to stop the hypocrisy of selective outrage and grieving by rightfully expressing outrage for tragedies in cities like Brussels and Paris, but completely ignoring the scores of people that ISIS has murdered in similar attacks recently in Istanbul and Ankara and Yemen and Libya and Tunisia. You not only imply that Muslim victims aren't worth as much as non-Muslim victims, but you create this false narrative that this is somehow a war against Christians. But we have to be clear, ISIS is at war with humanity, which is why the largest population, statistically speaking, of their victims have been Muslims. So we're all in the same boat. And number two, the Muslim leadership has failed across the world, and that's true. The secular leadership in Muslim countries needs to step up and to play an active role in restraining and containing ISIS through force. And then finally, like the president has said and like other people have said, in order to protect people from becoming sympathizers once you've destroyed ISIS, you need to be united in undermining their brutal ideology they use for recruitment, which is why efforts like trueislam.com are so important, as it provides real opportunities for us to partner to solve this scourge of terrorism, which affects us all.
Harris Zafar, thanks very much for joining us. You make an excellent point. People forget that most of the people killed by these ISIS terrorists are not Jews, they're not Christians, they're Muslims, they're fellow Muslims who have been killed, unfortunately, by the thousands in recent years. And we appreciate your joining us. Harris Zafar, the national spokesman for the Ahmadiyya Muslim community here in the United States.